How we doing, everyone? I'm Alex. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and I am not a doctor. That being said, I do know a thing or two about lower back pain, and I do keep up with recent research regarding what causes lower back pain in the first place. So today, for this video, we're going to talk about anterior pelvic tilt and how it relates to lower back pain. Google anterior pelvic tilt and lower back pain, and the first result you will get is a flawless article from Healthline. The article claims excessive anterior pelvic tilt or an arch in your lower back caused by the front of your pelvis tipping forward, as I'm showing here, can cause lower back pain. Therefore, this problem needs to be fixed. This article cites 3 sources to make this claim: an article about how to squat, an article about strengthening your abdominals post-pregnancy, and an article about normal human posture that includes 0 uses of the word pelvis. Isn't that odd? Wouldn't it make sense for an article claiming anterior pelvic tilt causes lower back pain to provide sources that show anterior pelvic tilt causing lower back pain? Or if nothing else, shouldn't the first article on Google relating to this issue provide a solid argument why this is true in the first place? Perhaps Abraham Lincoln was right. Not everything you read on the internet is true. This article labels anterior pelvic tilt as a condition that needs to be fixed through stretching and exercise. So I figured, since Healthline didn't feel like citing relevant research on anterior pelvic tilt, I'd do the research myself and share it here. For this video, we're going to discuss what the literature has to say regarding pelvic tilt and back pain, and then from this research, we're going to discuss exercises you can perform to combat your lower back pain now. Then we'll finish up by discussing long-term strategies you can adopt to keep your lower back pain-free for life. Okay, let's start with the research. And if you would like to read through it yourself, all of my sources are in the description below. Right off the bat, let me cite something Healthline conveniently forgot to mention. A 2011 study found that 85% of asymptomatic males and 75% of asymptomatic females showed some level of anterior pelvic tilt. Meaning, out of the 120 pain-free individuals in the study, the majority of them had an existing pelvic tilt. Now that doesn't make sense if anterior pelvic tilt is the cause of lower back pain, so why aren't these individuals in pain? Well, maybe the angle of the pelvic tilt in these individuals is just very slight and it's not enough to cause severe back pain. What if we were to look at both populations of healthy individuals and individuals with lower back pain and compare them? That way we could confirm that those with anterior pelvic tilt do in fact show more frequent cases of back pain. Well, lucky for you, I found a study that did just that. In this study, 600 men and women were analyzed for a multitude of physical characteristics thought to contribute to lower back pain. The researchers concluded that anterior pelvic tilt and lower back pain were not associated with one another. Interestingly enough, they also concluded that the length of the iliopsoas, or hip flexor, and the length of the hamstrings were not associated with lower back pain either. Wow, okay, so it seems pretty conclusive that anterior pelvic tilt does not cause lower back pain. But let me play devil's advocate for a quick second, because the research on this topic is a bit all over the place. Another study, this one from 2017, found the exact opposite result. They were able to find a relationship between anterior pelvic tilt and lower back pain. However, this was a smaller and less diverse study consisting of only 60 females throughout the ages of 20 and 26. But it's still worthy of discussion. And if that weren't odd enough, Hee-Sung Lim and colleagues demonstrated similar results with a wider population. They demonstrated a relationship between pelvic tilt and back pain in 119 males and females ages 18 to 55, showing a median pelvic tilt of 3.5 degrees in healthy individuals and a median pelvic tilt of 6 degrees in those with pain. However, the authors did shine a light on these confusing and conflicting studies by hypothesizing that individuals with lower back pain are actively changing their posture as a result of their daily pain, and this change in posture is what caused the greater angle of pelvic tilt. This poses a bit of a chicken and the egg situation. What came first, the anterior pelvic tilt or the lower back pain? And that's a great question, one that's very worthy of future research. However, Healthline is not off the hook just yet, because while we may not be fully aware of this cause and effect relationship, we do know less controversial information about what physical characteristics may contribute to lower back pain. Going back to our largest study that examined 17 factors that may be associated with lower back pain, we can see the researchers found that the endurance of the back extensor muscles, the length of the back extensors, and the strength of the hip flexor hip, adductor, and abdominal muscles are all associated with lower back pain, while the length and relative tightness of muscles like the hamstring and hip flexors are not. So let's use this information to determine what exercises can actually help to prevent lower back pain and what exercises are pretty useless for preventing lower back pain. Let's start with the useless. Exercises that stretch the hip flexors are likely to be pretty useless for fixing lower back pain, while exercises that stretch the hamstrings are almost certainly useless. In fact, if you want to fix your lower back pain, you're going to have to do a whole lot more strengthening than stretching. After all, this makes a lot of logical sense. Stronger muscles are more capable of supporting a healthy skeleton. Stronger muscles will fatigue less throughout the day, and stronger muscles will provide much better support when doing something like picking up a heavy box or even just bending over. So let's talk about strengthening exercises that will help lower back pain according to our research. I'm going to give 4 different exercises you can use today to begin working on the problem, as well as tweaks you can make to the exercises to make them easier or harder. All of these exercises can be performed for 2 to 4 sets of 6 to 15 reps. That's not too important. What is most important is that you are performing them consistently 2 to 4 times a week. First, goblet squats. Squatting with a load is something pretty much all human beings would benefit from. It strengthens pretty much every muscle in the torso and the legs. And the goblet squat makes this doable for a ton of individuals with chronic pain. Having the weight held out in front of you forces your abdominals to work extremely hard without your conscious thought. This is good for 2 reasons. 1, as I mentioned, weak abdominal muscles are associated with lower back pain, so strengthening them is a good idea. And 2, this squat variation primarily relies on the front of your body to support your spine and makes it a very lower back friendly exercise. Next is RDLs. Endurance of the spinal erectors, the muscles surrounding your spine, had the strongest association with lower back pain of all the factors that were evaluated, which makes perfect sense. Not only is it reasonable to assume that weak back muscles aren't capable of supporting your spine, but most people with lower back pain avoid training these muscles at all cost to avoid any potential injuries. Over time, this causes them to atrophy, become weaker, and the problem becomes worse. So if you want to improve your spinal health, you have to strengthen the muscles surrounding your spine. There's simply no way around this. So let's start with something doable for most, a dumbbell or kettlebell RDL. Hold air in your stomach and push your hips back until you feel a stretch in your hamstrings. Keep an arch in your lower back the whole time like you were sticking your butt out for a 2012 Facebook profile pic. And don't worry about going too low. Just go until you feel a stretch and then come back up. What's important is that your lower back stays locked into the slightly arched position for every second of the rep. If maintaining a stationary spine is impossible for you, even with just a bodyweight RDL, then for now, let's stick to Supermans. These holds place you in spinal extension and teach your lower back muscles how to hold the position needed for an RDL. After a few sessions with Supermans, you should be able to perform RDLs while keeping your spine locked in place. Since we're strengthening the muscles that are associated with lower back pain, let's address the adductors next, also known as your groin muscles. We'll do that with a Copenhagen plank, so set up either with your knee on a bench or your foot. The closer the bench is to your hips, the easier this plank will be, so find what you're capable of and hold that for about 20 to 60 seconds on each side. And in order to strengthen our hip flexors and abdominals simultaneously, our 4th exercise is a hanging leg raise or a hanging knee raise, depending on your existing strength levels. The knee raise is the easier of the 2. You can perform these in an elbow supported position like I'm demonstrating, or hanging from a bar. Both are great. So if you do have chronic back pain, incorporating all 4 of these exercises into your weekly routine should not only be helpful, but it should be doable. Just be patient and be consistent. Changes in strength are unfortunately slow and they don't occur overnight. You'll likely need to stay consistent for several weeks before you notice a big difference. So those are my evidence-based and immediate recommendations for fixing your chronic lower back pain. Now let me take my experience, background knowledge, and just plain common sense to provide a long-term recommendation for fixing your lower back pain permanently. Because while all these exercises I mentioned so far will help in the long run, we can still do better. If you really want a strong and healthy back for the rest of your life, then you should really start squatting and hip hinging with a barbell in perfect form. An exercise like goblet squats is really great, but once those 100-pound dumbbells get easier for you, then you've hit a ceiling. And the same thing goes for dumbbell RDLs. There is no point of diminishing returns where more strength stops being a good thing. More strength is always better, and we can continue to strive for new strength with barbell squats and barbell RDLs. This does not mean we sacrifice form on the bar, rather we give ourselves the room to continue improving our ability to support a healthy spine. After all, who do you think is more vulnerable to injure their back moving a couch? Someone who RDLs 315 with perfect form after years of strengthening the movement? Or someone who does Supermans once or twice a week because they're convinced they'll hurt themselves if they try anything else? Spoiler, it's the person who thinks lifting heavy things will get them hurt. And that's a belief that likely stems from their weak back, making them feel fragile. A back that is only weak because they refuse to do anything about it. Again, this all hinges on proper warm-up and execution of the lift. So I do not recommend someone with lower back pain walk into the gym, throw 225 on the bar, and squat it with a round back. That would be stupid. As a quick side note, RDLs can be replaced with deadlifts and probably should be if possible. However, RDLs emphasize the crucial movement of a hip hinge while being far easier to learn than the barbell deadlift, so that's why I recommended them here. This is a process that takes time and care, but it is relatively simple. Build strength with well-executed barbell squats and barbell RDLs, and if you want to support those core exercises with the 4 exercises demonstrated earlier, then that's a great idea as well. However, you really don't need to. But strength is medicine, and movement is medicine. Your lower back pain is not going to get better sitting at a desk all the time and occasionally stretching. I promise you, it won't. You're going to have to make some overarching lifestyle changes if you want to see overarching changes in how your body feels. Stay consistent and stay patient. Strength takes time to build, and strength takes consistent work to build. But if you strengthen the areas we know correlate to lower back pain, you're going to better support your spine the stronger you get. Wow, okay, I didn't really realize how much I had to say until I said it all, but I guess bringing things back to our original question, is anterior pelvic tilt the cause of lower back pain? The answer really is, from looking at the research, we don't really know, and we need more research to decide, and that's probably why it's such a controversial topic. Personally, I don't think so, just from what I've learned and what I've read recently and over time and in the past, and just from general practice as a whole. Anterior pelvic tilt is already pretty difficult to measure, and that's one problem. And the other problem is our largest study that I cited so far, really the best study I could find on the subject, said no, the two are not related. And that was the study that took 150 males that were healthy, 150 females that were healthy, 150 males that were unhealthy, and 150 females that were unhealthy. So a very balanced, well-performed study said no. Most people who are up to date on the topic will say no. And personally, I don't think anterior pelvic tilt causes lower back pain, maybe in the most extreme cases, but whether it does or not, the information I provided here still stays true. And really the point is you want to build strength around your spine to support your spine, however your body is naturally configured. Remember, from the study I cited, I think it was the very first study I cited in the video, most people have an anterior pelvic tilt, even though most people are asymptomatic and don't have chronic lower back pain. So that just kind of wraps up my thoughts on the topic. And as I do at the end of every video now, I'd like to scroll the names of my Patreons up on the screen. Don't forget, if you join me over on Patreon, and there's be a link in my description below, but don't forget, if you join me over there, you get the opportunity to message me one-on-one. So as the Instagram has grown, it's been very difficult to keep up with DMs. I get dozens daily, and it's just something that's really difficult to keep up with. And on Patreon, you can reach out to me anytime. When I get a Patreon message, I get a personal email, and I go through my emails a couple times a day, and I respond to all those messages. So not only is the Patreon great for workout programs, but if you need help with fat loss advice, technique, any type of personal help whatsoever, that's the place to go for it. So I wanted to remind all of you that was up there, and of course I want to thank everybody who has already joined. Again, that also comes with workout programs, podcasts, and the occasional insider exclusive post. That's all in the link in the description, but I hope you learned something today. I hope you take this information with you. I hope you realize more strength really is never a bad thing. I think people see meatheads in the gym, and they see people hurt themselves trying to lift more weight than they're capable of, and they give heavy lifting a bad rap. But when it comes to protecting your joints, your ligaments, the discs in your spine, everything, strength is always better. That really just is your body's ability to control itself and to move itself around time and space, and you need to build that up to stay healthy. So more strength is always better. Anterior pelvic tilt is not a condition to cure. Healthline is a shitty source, and I've been Medich Brand. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.